You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes. Claps all around. Episode 187. 187 episodes. Who would have thunk? Wow. Not me. Without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And returning after a 2-week hiatus from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, the father of two boys now, Shield. What is going on, Shield?
Boy, you think it's hard enough to set up a show for just with just one kid? Try doing it with two. It is not very easy. There's a lot of chaos, a lot of craziness, but thankfully enough, somehow was able to get it all put together here. Happy to be back and happy to talk a little bit of sports as well.
Well, Voldy, there's a lot of talk going around. I mean, there's a lot of sports happening. I mean, we've got draft coming up. We've got the Wild pretty much. Well, doesn't look good. But
who knows?
The Twins, home opener tomorrow. The Wolves fighting for playoff position. They made the playoffs.
Ew.
Yeah, segue to hot take for tonight. We'll be talking Wolves. We're talking Twins. And Voldy, we haven't done this segment since November. Top 10 in famous list. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
A lot has happened. A
A lot has happened because we've had to add some guys. There, I mean, the whole positioning is all messed
all
up
over the
now.
place.
Like we've got new guys on there, or guys that really should have been on there in the first place. But that means that we're ready to go with some top 10 and famous lists. And Voldy is back with some ARA stories, and let me tell you, they are fantastic. The big news today: Stefondiggs, our good old friend Stefondiggs. He is now a Houston Texan. So we'll talk about that. The Final Four is this weekend. We'll talk about that a little bit. Shoheiohtani, controversy. And the NFL is changing kickoffs, and we'll talk about that. And then Warren Sapp is back in the NFL. Or not, let's do that. College football. I'm sorry. That'd be one heck of a comeback if he came back.
Right.
Just back to the NFL. That'd be hilarious. So, with that being said, and we have a plethora, it's a word, look it up, of Shield shoutouts tonight. So, can't wait to talk a little bit about that tonight as well. We are looking forward to this episode. So, Voldy, like I said, let's get it going. Let's get you back into some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, it is time for some Tater Tot Hot Take tonight. We start off with the Minnesota Timberwolves. They are going to the playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. And, we got to throw out some claps because this is the third straight season the Wolves have made the playoffs. So, that's not something that we're accustomed to hearing. We all know what happened this last week with the ownership and whatnot. We are going to get to that in Infamous Liz. We will get to it. I promise you. Trust me. I've got thoughts. Voldy's got thoughts. Zoners, let us know what you think, too. So, the Wolves officially have claimed a playoff spot. It's looking very, very good for our Minnesota Timberwolves. The fact that they have solidified their spot, now it's all about positioning. They have 7 games left tonight, or left in the season, I should say, not tonight. But they are playing right now. So I do have the game on in the background, and we'll give you some updates here and there. Mike Conley is not playing tonight, getting some rest. He is the oldest guy on the team, so I don't necessarily blame him. So, and they're playing the Raptors, and the Raptors are one of the worst teams in the NBA. So go figure. So, Voldy, outside of the talk with Glenn Taylor, A-Rod, Mark Laurie, the whole kit and caboodle there. So I talked about playoff positioning. You have the Thunder, you have the Nuggets, and us, the Timberwolves. So my question to you and to the Zoners, where do you think the Wolves will end up? Do you think, at this point, do you think 1? Do you think 2? Do you think 3? And at this point, I think we're to a point where it's like, you know what? I'm fine with any of them at this point. You know, it's fine. So, Voldy, do you have a specific seed that you would like to see the Wolves get in the playoffs here?
Well, I think it's also very promising as well that the Timberwolves will finish no worse than 6th. So that's also a good thing as well. They'll finish no matter what as somewhere in the top 6 seeds. You'd like to be in that top half of the seeds as well. I think they're going to finish as a 3 seed, which I feel like would work a little bit more towards the Timberwolves' favor too, because you start looking at how that bottom third is really going to be playing out with the seeds in the Western Conference. There are going to be some hungry teams in that matchup as well, a 3 versus a 6, as opposed to, sitting in a 4-5 matchup, which is always a scrappy series to say the least. But I feel like they definitely have the wherewithal to be at least a 3 seed, just based off of what we've seen. I think the last time we were talking about Timberwolves, or at least last time I was on the show talking about Timberwolves, we were talking about how they were going to manage without Karl Anthony Towns. And it's like, I haven't even skipped a beat, honestly. They just continue to play, and somehow they've picked up the slack and have continued to pile on the wins, and of course playing some very, very tough matchups as well, and have definitely held their own. So definitely sitting as a 3 seed is where I think they'll end up by the end of the regular season.
And, we didn't really know, like you said, Voldy. Like, we really didn't know what was going on with Cat. We didn't know if it's going to be he's done for the season, everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there is some optimism now that Karl Anthony Towns will be back for the playoffs. Right. Maybe even a little bit before the end of the season. I heard some rumblings, but no matter. Take your time. Take your time. Yep. That's all we want. But
exactly.
You make a good point. They have done a great job without Karl Anthony Towns being out, because you have guys that have stepped up. And, of course, Naz Reid is a big proponent. Last night he had 25 points, 6 rebounds. Then you add in Kyle Anderson, who has been filling in that 4 spot with Towns being out, and he had a great game as well. This is something to where there's depth on this team, and they play for one another. They are the best defensive team in the NBA. That is something that we're not accustomed to hearing, because a lot of that and a lot of the credit has to go to Rudy Gobert. And Rudy Gobert has been, fantastic. He has been a great teammate. Mike Conley, obviously, adding him into the mix, having that cohesiveness with Gobert, something we didn't have with D'Angelo Russell with Gobert and whatnot, and that didn't work out. So, they lost to Chicago. They lost to Chicago. Then they played, the Rockets. They didn't have a great shooting night. The first half, Ant only had 2 points. But then, in the second half, Ant kind of got going a little bit. They were talking about, is it a bad sign that the Wolves are not shooting well right now? You want to go into the playoffs, with some gusto, right? You want to be hot going into the playoffs and whatnot. So I asked this of you and the zoners as well. Voldy, Are we concerned about this? Are we just, kind of brushing it off and just being like, well, let's see how the first round goes and whatnot, see what the seeding is? Are you concerned at all?
I mean, I'm not overly concerned about the poor shooting as of late. I think we're just getting towards the end of a long season for them as well, because more times than not, you start to see a team really start to kind of push a little bit harder than they usually, because usually the Timberwolves are a team, they're fighting for a playoff spot, but right now they have a playoff spot. They're guaranteed to make the playoffs too. So, I don't want to say that they're kind of dialing it back a little bit, but they're definitely, coming towards the adrenaline filled season. And now it's starting to kind of, start to taper off a little bit here, but it's just one of those. Sometimes you just got to continue to work through it, and hopefully you get a couple of wins because of it, and hopefully the other team isn't shooting better than you are. I'm not overly concerned right now about it, but we'll see if it continues, of course, past the regular season and going towards obviously the playoffs.
Right. So a little bit of an update with Ant, the inconsistent shooting, and it says in this article, in 5 games going into that, or last night, he's only shot 40% on field goals, and then he's 23% on 3-point shots. So he was like 0 for 20 from his last, or 0 for 20 in his last 3-point shots and whatnot. But
gotcha.
Ant's gonna come with confidence. That's Ant. I for a fact am not overly concerned myself. I kind of see it as an opportunity for the Wolves just to kind of, just figure out a way to just not worry about that and just keep playing and doing what they've been doing the whole season, playing good defense. Obviously with Ant giving the ball to Ant. I mean, he was a monster defensively. If he can't do it on offense, Ant's going to do it on defense. So he'll get the steals, he'll get the blocks, and especially with Gobert. Gobert's been, I can't talk enough about how good he's been. But Naz Reid, you get guys, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You know, Zappa talked about it when he was on not too long ago as well. So this is a team where a lot of people are kind of, is this a potential team that could make it to the finals? If you look at the Western Conference right now, the Nuggets, you know, I don't know. It looks like they're kind of teetering a little bit, in my opinion. The Thunder are a very good young team. You have that. The Pelicans are a team that could potentially do some damage, but I'm not overly concerned. Or the Suns are kind of like messed up in their own little world or whatever. But I think they can. I think they could. But again, this is Minnesota sports. I mean, I say that, and the Wolves could be out in the first round. So I'm not going to go that far yet. But it's an encouraging sign. I mean, I personally think, and you know what, I'm just going to say it right now. I think they're going to get out of the first round. They're going to win their first round matchup. I'm going to say it right now. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Nominate me for absurd statement. We all know the deal of how to nominate and whatnot. So that might happen. But when you add Karl Anthony Towns coming back, when you add that a lot of these guys are getting healthier and everyone's in good shape, and obviously you get Cat back, that's an added bonus. We want that. So we'll see what happens. But I'm encouraged by the way that they've been playing. I think Finch has them playing fantastic, and right now they're down 5-0 at the beginning of the first. I don't know. Not looking good for the Timberwolves in the first quarter, if you know what I mean.
Sell the team.
Yeah.
Seattle.
They're already starting the sell the team Glenn Taylor chants. Actually, I have no idea. It's on mute. But anywho, we'll get more on about that whole thing in Famous List and whatnot. So we'll keep you up to date on the Wolves game, and obviously, if there's any big updates, we will let you know. So that is our first hot take down, and our next one with the Minnesota Twins. As you can see, the Minnesota Twins have started the season like many MLB teams, and they just won today against the Brewers. They had a 2-game series against the Brewers in Milwaukee. They lost the first game, won the second game 7-3. So far, not too bad for the Twinkies. You know, I mean, they've got, they're 3-2 right now, which isn't awful. That's right. It's, you have one here, you have one there, but the injuries have been piling up. Voldy, the injuries have really been piling up.
Good Lord.
I can't tell you how frustrated I was, and I believe you were too, that Royce Lewis hits a home run. His first at bat, first swing. I mean, come on. He gets a home run, and then, what is it, an inning or so later, he's running the bases. Again. He gets hurt. Right quad injury.
Man of glass.
And everyone was thinking to themselves, including myself, you have to be freaking kidding me. This can't keep happening. Nope. And originally everyone thought it was like an Achilles or something. I'm just like, gosh darn it. Why do we have to have all these Achilles injuries, especially for Minnesota, obviously with Kirk O'Chains and everything like that. But very frustrating, to say the least, with that. Him getting hurt. Oh, by the way, you remember the guy that the Twins got in the trade with Jorge Polanco, DeScalafini or whatever his name is? Yeah, he's out for the rest of the season. So that's going well. I don't know if it was necessarily Tommy John, but it was something. It was something about, he had like a forearm fracture thing or whatever. So we're starting off hot there. Not. And then obviously you got Byron Buxton. At any second, he could just be walking to the grocery store or something, and all of a sudden he tweaks his ankle. So there's that. There's that to be worried about. The relief pitching, well, Johan Duran. Oh, by the way, he won't be playing for a little bit now too. So Voldy, with these injuries, we'll start off with this, and then obviously we'll get more into it with how they've been playing so far. But are these injuries very, very concerning for our Minnesota Twins? Are we like, oh God, here we go again? This is gonna be a long season. They're not gonna, win the playoffs. They're not gonna get to the playoffs. They're not gonna win the division. I mean, it's too early to tell, but I mean, with the history of injuries and how the Twins do things, is it concerning at this point? What do you think?
I mean, it's not a real good start to the season because we've seen it over the years. Byron Buxton, obviously Royce Lewis, Josh Donaldson hurting himself in the first games of the season too, in his brief Twins tenure too. I mean, it's just always just Murphy's Law. Just everything goes wrong at the absolute worst possible time too. It's unfortunate. It sucks, is what it does. I mean, even Max Kepler got a little banged up in Kansas City, but he powered through it. Now he's back in the lineup too. Most recently, I mean, it stinks because one thing that is always kind of held the Twins back has always been, can they stay healthy and can they really put together a full team, a full, obviously 160 game season with a consistent enough lineup. And that's always been one thing that's kind of kept them where they've been at over the last, forever, basically. I don't know, since they probably won the World Series. Is just that they haven't been able to keep an entire lineup healthy long enough or have the best guys at certain positions longer than 80, 90 games or something like that because they're hurt. They're fighting their way through the lineup. They're having trouble hitting or fielding or whatever. They just cannot build enough cohesion in that area to that as well. Obviously, having Royce Lewis go down first game of the season, that certainly hurts, especially when you're at a position like shortstop and obviously on the middle infield and, even over at, at third base as well. You're still trying to iron out who's going to be where in this ever-changing lineup. Obviously, you traded away an all-star second baseman in Jorge Polanco in the offseason, putting full investment in that middle infield. It's not a good start. No. But one thing that has helped the Twins is that they're a deep team. They've got solid guys that are in the minors right now. Sitting on the bench that have been serviceable over the years. It doesn't hurt that they have a deep enough bench. It's just that we don't want to just continue to rest on the laurels when it comes to that. You want to be able to have, obviously your best players out for all games as much as you can as well.
So, DeScalafani is the name. And he didn't need Tommy John surgery. It was flexor tendon surgery. So, that's a 13-month recovery timeline, so he ain't playing anytime soon. Nope. Not till 2025. Mentioned Duran, but another guy too, Theobar. Theobar has a left hamstring strain, so... and then, Justin Topa, left knee tendonitis, so... it's just going great for the Twins, injury-wise. But... they're winning games. I mean, they're beating the Brewers. They won the series against the Royals. Let's forget about the game on Sunday against the Royals. It was like 11-0 or something like that. And Bailey Ober was pitching. And I will say, before I get into it too much, I will say I am fully out on Bailey Ober. I don't know how many times that we have to give him a pass because, well, he's not playing well. He's not. The dude got shelled on Sunday, and he did in previous outings before. Like this isn't good. We can't have this, and I'm not necessarily blaming all of this on him. Maybe there's something he's dealing with. I don't know, but I'm fully out on Bailey Ober. I feel like get the women and children out of the home run seats over in left field. Like, good Lord, the guy just absolutely got destroyed on Sunday. I think they got to look at some starting pitching. And we talked about this last week 2 weeks ago with Mikey. Snell signs with the Giants, right, for 2 years, $60 million.
Peanuts.
Oh no, the Twins don't want to pay that. No, can't do that. We cut payroll, but we're still getting a large sum of money that we're hoarding for ourselves because of those damn poll ads. So, when you have all those injuries, what do? They literally do this. Twiddle thumbs. Just no, it's fine. We'll be okay. I guess we're fine with mediocrity right now. We're just fine where things are at, and that's how the poll ads think too. So you know what? If they don't give a crap, I don't give a crap. But Bailey Ober, I'm sorry, I'm out on Bailey Ober. So, with that being said, right now let's talk about some good stuff. Pablo Lopez, he gave up a home run in the first game against the Royals, but after he gave up that home run, only gave up 3 hits. I don't think he gave up any earned runs or anything like that throughout his. He went 7 innings, which is great. So, Pablo Lopez starting off good. Byron Buxton had a double today against the Brewers. That's good to see. And he was healthy. He got to second base, Voldy, without getting hurt. Yes! Progress! It can happen. Just got to believe. But guys are playing well. Carlos Correa looks great again. He had a nice grab at shortstop today, over the shoulder too. Those are fun to watch.
Nice.
I don't know about you, which is cool. But the Twins, they're doing okay. And I look at this team. I'm not too worried about it, to answer the question. I think they'll start to kind of get into a groove. Especially, they're going to be playing tomorrow at Target Field against Cleveland.
Yep.
Cleveland is probably said to be the biggest threat to the Twins, I would say, within the division.
I'd say so.
But then again, the Twins at the latter part of the season pretty much dominated. So hopefully that will continue with this homestand. But Pablo Lopez is pitching tomorrow, which is great. You want the ace to start at the home opener, and obviously people are going to be at Target Field tomorrow. It's supposed to be a nice day tomorrow, and
nice.
We'll see how things go against the Cleveland Guardians, I should say. So that'll be a good matchup, and I think the Twins will come out with a victory at the home opener, and we'll see kind of how things go from there. But anything else that you're thinking, Voldy, with this Twins team coming up, having this night or the home opener and then this 3-game homestand? What do you think?
I think just one thing being able to, like I really talked about, was just really seeing what's going to work with the lineup too. And, obviously the catching situation is going to be interesting with, Ryan Jeffers, Christian Vasquez as well. Vasquez having a little bit more success at the plate. And obviously we know he's a defensive catcher as well. He can definitely throw guys out. And Jeffers had his first hit of the season, might as well be a 3-run home run. And that certainly helped. But I think having that position evaluated and critiqued a little bit more is definitely something to keep an eye on here as the season goes along.
I'm almost curious too. There's always been the rumors of, they might trade Kepler. They might, and everything like that. But I don't think I feel like those talks have kind of faded too, right now. But
not worth anything anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that's
should have traded him 5 years ago when we had the chance.
It's that whole thing again. Well, it would have been great 5 years ago, as you would say here on this show. So I agree with that. We'll see how it goes, and we'll keep up to date with Twins stuff, and it's gonna be a good season. I'm feeling positive. That's what I want to be. I want this to be positive and whatnot. So. Go Twins, and let's get that dub tomorrow. So, that being said, that's going to do it for Tater Tot Hot Take this week. Woo-hoo. It has been a long time, Voldy, since we have done the top 10 infamous list. There's been a lot of changes. There's a lot to talk about with them, But we're going to kind of go through the ones that we've already kind of, talked about. Everyone knows the deal and whatnot. But we have a new number one at the top of the infamous list. And, you probably have already guessed it. But we're going to talk more about that specifically just because, there's a lot to be talked about with this. So let's get it going with our top 10 infamous list.
Here's the list no one wants to be on. Infamous Top 10.
It doesn't get old. A lot of those guys are in the Hall of Shame, Voldy, as
we got to get that list. We got to get that graphic updated.
We do. I gotta find that project file to get that going. Mm-hmm. So yeah, our infamous list is very very different. Like I said before, there are some guys that have stuck on there. There are some guys that have fallen off. But let's just focus on our list. Voldy, I will do the honors first, and then I want you to go. I will breeze through, and then when we get to one on your side, then we'll just kind of go back and forth on that. But and also the zoners, I want you guys to comment in your thoughts. If we need to add some guys, if we need to take out some guys, we'll see. So here it is. Boom! There we go. So starting off with number 10, Jamorant. We really haven't heard from Jamorant in a long time, Voldy.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. The Grizzlies are a train wreck and whatnot right now. So he's stuck on the list for obvious reasons. You know the deal with him. Number 9, Jimmy Butler. There really hasn't been anything much with Butler as of late. But dressing up as an emo chick or something like that was interesting in itself. He has some emo deal. I don't understand it. It's weird as hell. But he's at number 9 just because it's Jimmy Butler. Number 8,
Deshaun. Phase, Mom.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson at number 8. There's really no need to elaborate. We all know the deal there. So. Deshaun Watson, number 8. Number 7, Scam Duel. I didn't have them on the last time. I do have them on this time. Now, Voldy, if you've looked on the social medias, more like X, formerly known as Twitter, they post some absolutely outlandish trades that think that the Vikings will trade Justin Jefferson for a first-round pick to the Green Bay Pack. Like, it's so ridiculous. Some of these trades, how do you even, what? It's like, well, we're going to get a lot of reactions. Yeah, I get that. But come on, be a little bit reasonable here. This is, some of these trades that you guys propose, some of these things that you post, you have nothing to back it up with. Nothing. Zero. Hence why it is now known as Scam Duel. Not FanDuel, Scam Duel. It is a scam over there. Number 6, Sean Payton. The only thing I'm going to add with that before we move on here is that he's trying to get ahead of the Minnesota Vikings in the draft. He's trying to steal our guys. We cannot let that piece of crap take our quarterbacks, okay? We're getting ahead of him. We've got the first round picks, all right? We can move up. You guys have nothing. Jack, nothing. So, hopefully, that doesn't happen because we don't want that clown getting in there. Number 5, Shoheiohtani. The reason why I have Shoheiohtani up here is because something don't feel right. And we'll talk about it more with A-Ray, but something doesn't feel right. The interpreter obviously was fired or whatever and whatnot for that whole, for fraud and, money and everything like that. Betting on games, I should say. Shohei has all this money. I'm pretty sure he knew. the MLB is going to be diving deep into this, and we're going to know a lot more coming out here. But I'm going to save the rest for ARA later on. So I do have Shoheiohtani up here. Number 4, Antoniobrown. Voldy, if we're on the socials medias, what's with the CTSPN thing? What is he trying to do? Is he trying to spread false news and stuff like that? What is wrong with him? It's just, that's why he's up there. I mean, he'll be immortalized in the infamous Hall of Fame. But what are you doing?
Sure.
What are you doing, dude? Clown Tonio. Number 3, UrbanMeyer. I'm still kind of peeved with him. I don't know why he has a job on Fox. We've talked about it numerous times, but he deserves to be high up here. Number 2, Draymond Green. Good old Draymond. Voldy.
My man.
2023 Clown of the Year. Even after his suspension, he's getting thrown out of games. His teammates are pretty much sick of him right about now.
Shocking.
Shocker. I don't know how he survives the offseason, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, he either has to do a lot of soul searching, or if I'm Golden State, I might want to look into maybe making a deal here or something, because there's something wrong with him. He is not okay. I mean, it is some weird stuff going on with him. So we'll. He's on this list, and again, he's doing it to himself. So, all right, number 1, you see it, Glentaylor. We'll talk more about it when Voldy gets to number 1 here too, but we're gonna explain here in a sec. So, that is my top 10 infamous list for tonight. We'll talk more about Glentaylor in just a second, but Voldy, go ahead, my friend.
Well, we start off at the number 10 spot, as we always do, with YouTube TV. Of course, the backlash that continues to still be in my house, not being able to watch any of the Minnesota sports teams, minus the Vikings, just continues to be a gigantic pain in my rear end. And yes, I've tried Bally Sports. No, I don't want to pay for it. Why do we still need to go on this road as well? Moving up to the number 9 spot, of course, we've got the NBA, a league that still holds near and dear to Draymond Green. Is definitely got some trouble up at the top of the ladder there. You got Deshaun We both agree at the number 8 spot. Guy is making $200-some million for not even playing. Probably won't even play this season. Who knows? Especially now with him and Jameis Winston in Cleveland. That is even more terrifying to think about in many areas. But going up to the number 7 spot, who do I have number 7? Oh, yes, the child molester himself, Wander Franco, and the Tampa Bay Rays. If I couldn't hate Tampa even more, let's throw in a child molester in the starting lineup there as well. I don't know if he's playing or not, but it's not up to the number 6 spot. National sports media still will never give Minnesota credit for anything, even with the likelihood that the Minnesota Timberwolves will be in the first round of the playoffs and quite possibly even win. They will talk about how the other team that does not win that series lost to Minnesota, as opposed to how the Timberwolves won that series, because the national sports media hates Minnesota for some ungodly reason. Up to the, we're at the number 5 spot, jamorant. Dummy. That's pretty much all I got to say about that. But keeping his head low, so that's usually good. The walking CTE, living, breathing CTE of Clown Antoniobrown just continues to spiral further and further down the drain, and I'm just wondering how far of a fall it's going to be even further from him in his fall from grace.
30 for 30.
Yeah, that 30 for 30 is going to be wild. Ever since him walking off mid-play shirtless in New York while still a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well. We move up to the Big Ten Conference, the Big 14, if you will, with football season just around the corner as well. stretching from coast to coast, the Big Ten Conference, and it's, well, near nonsense it was, dating back all the way to COVID, saying, of course, we're not going to play a football season. We want our people to be, safe and secure. No, we're going to play football in November and all the way into December just so we can get Ohio State into the national championship. Didn't really work that way all too much. Up to the number 2 spot, a man that was in the midst of the former Big Ten Conference, Urban Meyer. Boy, it didn't work for him in the NFL, but good thing he's got something to fall back on. Always with Fox, and also with serving as a pregame analyst as well for the big noon kickoff or whatever it is that they have on Fox. But then we agree at the top spot with the refresh of the top 10 in famous list, Glenn Taylor for those Minnesota Timberwolves. And boy, just when you thought we were going to see the end of Glenn Taylor, he pulls the rug out from everybody and says, no, I'm not going to sell the team. I'm going to stay in control as well. And that just infuriates more and more because of the fact that, well, there's a lot that goes along with Glenn Taylor still being in ownership. And I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it. So that's why I've got him at number 1 as well.
So, just a quick update too before I throw my hat and throw stuff around. No, I'm just kidding. I probably won't do that. But depending on how it goes. But the Wolves are up 23-19 against the Raptors right now, so not too bad. Not a bad start so far. Okay. The last time I turned my hat around was when I was getting pissed at Jimmy Butler. So this is kind of, I guess fitting in some ways too. I'm kind of at a loss for a couple things. One, I know we shouldn't trust A-Rod, right? With his history and how he's went about baseball and whatnot, and we hear conflicting reports about. Glenn said that, he had seller's remorse, which I do believe. And then Glenn, had, hatched out a plan of, in 2021 about it's going to be a 3-year turnover and whatnot. I get that Glenn gave them extensions on when they could get in the money and things like that. But I don't believe Glenn Taylor. I don't believe Glenn Taylor one bit. Now, one thing that I do want to bring up and that people have brought up too is that Glenn Taylor did, in fact, have the team stay in Minnesota from its inception. That's great and all. It prevented them to going to New Orleans and, it brings basketball to Minnesota. Okay, that's great and fine. But when you get to the point of, well, I did this, people should be grateful of what I've done. Glenn Taylor, what you have done is you have trashed this franchise ever since you bought it.
Yep.
If I'm being completely honest. This franchise hasn't come close to even getting to winning even a champion or even making an appearance in the finals. You had the Western Conference Finals, the Lakers and the Wolves, but hey, you're going up against Shaq and Kobe. It's that simple. But that's all they've had. Terrible. He has been terrible at bringing in people that didn't do well. Obviously, Flip is a legend. Don't get me wrong. We love Flip here. David Kahn was absolutely a terrible GM. We had a no-name starting 5 like Lexi Shved, Andre AK-47, Kirilenko. We had Pekovic, even though now he's a drug dealer or he's a mobster or something like that. Who knows? But this has been over 20 years of bad management and basketball. And every controversy that has happened, the Joe Smith controversy, the was it the money under the table thing or whatnot back in the day, then you have the rift between Glenn Taylor and Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett is probably the greatest Timberwolves player in Wolves history. And you don't see eye to eye with KG, the guy that's literally taken the franchise and tried to make it into something. And when the Wolves were good in that season of 2003 and 2004, Voldy and Zoners, after that season, we don't want to sign Latrell Sprewell or Sam Cassell.
Nope.
Are you freaking kidding me? So, bad management. After that whole thing, KG leaves. Oh, by the way, KG wins a championship. Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate that. So now, let's fast forward to today with the whole thing. Now, do I trust A-Rod? No, I don't. But here's what's interesting to me, is that they've said all along they have the money. They said they have the money, and Glenn says, well, you didn't bring it in. You didn't, do this, and this. But apparently, for the past 3 or whatever it was, the past 3 years, there has been a huge rift between A-Rod, Laurie, and Glenn Taylor. And it just seems to me that Glenn Taylor is deciding, you know what, I'm going to let greed take over. The team's doing well. I don't need to sell over the team. I feel like I've been a part of this. I feel like I've built this and whatnot. Really? Did you hire Tim Conley? Because I believe A-Rod and Laurie very much were hands-on in that signing. Finchie was another name that got brought in by them. They've got some players that can help with depth. And what does Glenn Taylor do? Glenn Taylor says, I'll give you the team. And then 3 years later he says, no, I'm good. No, not going to do it.
Yeah.
For the people that have been defending Glenn Taylor and have been saying, well, he saved us, he cares. Really, he does care. Or he cares. He cares because he decided to let greed overtake his with money here. He let greed take over here and thought, well, I can sell the team for more if since they're doing well and whatnot. Dude, you have been an embarrassment to Minnesota sports. Listen, you give him credit for keeping the Wolves in Minnesota, but there is a quote from a certain movie, Voldy. It is something to where it fits the whole situation very clearly with Glenn Taylor. You either die a hero or you live long enough for yourself to become the villain. And guess what? Glenn Taylor and this whole thing is a villain. He's been with this team for this long, and it has been nothing but pain and misery for this franchise. He is the villain. He starts off as the hero, right? Yay! I kept, Minnesota here and everything like that, but I have made this team a mockery. The worst sports team, major four sports team in Minnesota. I'm sorry.
Yep.
It's true. Not right now. Let's not counting right now because obviously they're doing great. So This is on Glenn Taylor big time. I don't care who you are. You can say, well, A-Rod, they didn't have the money. They said they had the money. They said they were ready to go. Glenn's greed took over. He had seller's remorse. He won't even let A-Rod, Laurie go to home games. Talk to the players. Can't talk to the players. Can't go to home games. They're owners of the team too. They're not, they're not fully owners. Like they're not owning the team 100%, but they still have a stake in the ownership here. And Glenn Taylor says, no, it's done. You can't talk to him. It's no longer for sale. To Glenn Taylor, screw you, man. Screw you for doing this. So that's my 2 cents. Voldy, what do you got?
I always had in the back of my mind, Glenn Taylor is going to find a way to somehow take credit for the success that the Timberwolves were having this season. That is why I never fully got comfortable with the fact of Mark Lowry and A-Rod having interests of the team, because I felt like the whole time, as soon as they start getting good, Glenn Taylor is going to pull back and be like, nah, this is all me. The reason why we're playing good is because of me. So why should I sell? Why should I give it away? I mean, we're going to win this thing. It's going to be because of me, and not you. I had that in the back of my mind from the very moment I saw the Timberwolves were doing well. And, of course, with A-Rod and Lowry even being introduced as, part of the ownership or what have you as well. As long as there was like, okay, when's the deadline? When do they take over? When's this all going to take place and whatever? When's Glenn Taylor going to be out? I knew for sure that it was going to be all the way down to the very final moment before either a deal was made or the situation that we run into right now, Glenn Taylor still being in control of the Minnesota Timberwolves. And that has a cumulative effect as well. We talked about Kevin Garnett. Can never fully appreciate the greatest player in Timberwolves history. The player that put the franchise on his back and brought them to new heights. Can never fully appreciate it. He can't retire his number because Glenn Taylor and him hate each other to odds and ends, and it's never gonna happen as long as Glenn Taylor's still alive, or even the fact that if Glenn Taylor from his grave is still going to be controlling the Timberwolves and have interest in not fully pursuing and allowing Kevin Garnett the flowers that he so graciously deserves in many respect for, of course, for what he did with the Timberwolves, obviously making it all the Western Conference Finals in 2004. You look at how it's all going to play out, and now we're not even back at square one. We're even a few spots behind. We're at like step -3 basically.
Yeah.
And how do we get back to even square zero? I don't know how you get back to square zero or even square one from that point. I think someone's going to have to do some dirty work, and I don't want to, say it on the show here or whatever without the threat of getting taken down by YouTube or getting canceled yet again after my last appearance. But a little bit of wet work going to have to be done if anybody's been watching The Sopranos on the streaming services, or somebody's got to have a sit down with the big guy and with Glenn Taylor and take care of a few things.
So here's what I'm gonna say with this. One, the fact that he has barred them from going to games and things like that. Why are you doing that? That's my question.
Pansy.
Then the other question that I ask too is like, I mean, if you want to sell it for more, and people saying, well, you might sell it for more and things like that, the team's playing well. Okay, well then why did you close the sale?
Exactly.
Why'd you close the sale in the first place? If you're like, we're not going to go with A-Rod and Lowry, we're going to go with somebody else. Like, but he apparently wants to, he wants full control of this team. And he's like, I feel like I've built. You haven't built shit. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, what have you built? You have rebuilt, destroyed, rebuilt, destroyed, rebuilt, destroyed. I mean, you haven't done jack squat. Mm-hmm. The only thing that you've done is make this basketball team, and it's through its history, the laughingstock of the NBA, if not the whole sports world. It's that simple. And it's frustrating to me when he pulls the rug out from under them and just says, nah, I'm not going to sell the team. So every controversy that has happened, Voldy, let's think about it. The Joe Smith thing, the signing of Andrew Wiggins because Glenn looked him in the eyes and knew he was going to be just fine. Yeah, that worked out great. He's a warrior and he's won a ring. So joke's on Glenn there. The Jimmy Butler thing. He was at the center of it and he didn't know what to do with it. He's like, I talked to Jimmy, and he's going to play, and whatnot, and everything's going to be fine. Well, a couple days later, he's traded to the Sixers. Joke's on Glenn there. At war with Kevin Garnett. And then now he's at war with A-Rod and Mark Lore. Here's the fact of the matter. This all centers around Glenn Taylor, so the finger should be pointed at Glenn Taylor, not anybody else but Glenn Taylor. He has done a terrible job being an owner of this team. He is an old, senile, old man that has no idea what he's doing. He's a snake. Much like Jimmy Butler, he is a snake. So it's very frustrating to me, but at the same time, I'm just going to focus on what the Wolves are doing well. And they're up by 10 against the Raptors like they should be. Ants, finally knocking down some threes. The Wolves are playing great defense. They just got a steal. They're going to shoot another three. And guess what? Oh, they missed. Okay. I got a little greedy there. I will say. So we'll focus on the positive. But, Glenn, you are number 1 on the top 10 in famous list. If you ever see this, listen, dude. You have to understand that nobody wants you as owner of this team. No one. Do you understand how many people hate your guts right now? Do us all a favor, sell the team, and just go away. Go away. You'll have you saved the team from going to New Orleans and everything like that. You can have that. Listen, just sell the team. Be done with this. We're done with you. Okay? So, Austin Hanley, oh boy. Carl Carson Wentz. Call Carson Wentz. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess he's a Chief now, but I assume he had to call Carson Wentz. Okay. Well, good luck with that. Jimmy Buckets is Himothy. Has he won an NBA title yet? No? I guess he's not him then. Sorry about that. Not really. So that's our top 10 in famous list. Here's the last look at it. Glenn Taylor, you need to be gone, man. You have to. This is
You need to move on.
This is terrible. This is awful. So, that being said, that'll do it for top 10 in famous lists. We will have this posted. You guys let us know who should be added, who should be taken off. Let us know. Give us yours too. I mean, shoot, we'd love to hear from you guys as well. So, Austin says been to more finals than the whole Timberwolves team combined. Yeah, that's true. I'll give you that. But even though the Wolves haven't been there, when Jimmy's been there, he's excuse me. Sorry, choking a little bit there.
They got to rely on the white guy to carry the team.
Tyler Hero, is that who you're... is that,
yes, the white guy.
Yeah. Jeez. Oh, man. So...
this was the NBA. We're relying on the white guy to carry the team? Come on.
Jeez. Oh, man.
Cancer.
There's levels to it, my guys. Well, he shouldn't have left then. If he thought he could lift this team up, he gave up after a year.
Family. Level this.
Oh, jeez. So, that'll do it for top 10 in famous lists. Let's get into ARA. We've got a lot to talk about. Stefondiggs is a Texan. That's even weird to say in itself. Then you have the ordeal with Shoheiohtani. We'll talk about that. The Final Four is this weekend. The NFL adopts the XFL style kickoff. We'll give thoughts on that. And the Colorado Buffaloes add Hall of Famer warrensapp to their squad. So let's just get right into it. Let's do some absurd or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
Well, it's time for absurd or approved, and Hanley's just being Hanley right here. That's not it. He says Wolves have been at the bottom. Yeah, I just talked about that. But guess what? Where are they at right now? Oh yeah, fighting for the 1 seed in the playoffs. So they're doing just fine, my friend. Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, a shocking turn of events that could definitely turn two franchises forward or even backwards. The Buffalo Bills have announced that they are trading 4-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Stefondiggs to the Houston Texans for draft pick compensation. Now, the Bills will receive a 2025 second-round draft pick that came from the Minnesota Vikings, so yet the Vikings are still somehow connected to Stefondiggs and will be for the end of time, in exchange for, obviously, Diggs, a 2024 6th-round pick, and a 2025 5th-round selection as well. So it comes to the tails, of course, the bitter end of the tenure for Stefondiggs. Of course, him complaining about maybe not getting the ball in key situations, and that kind of a sour end to a run in Buffalo that did have a lot of promise but didn't have any of the substance or reward that went along with it, with Josh Allen and those in Buffalo as well. You look at how it could benefit both sides too, but is it absurd or approved? Are the Bills going to be better off without Diggs this upcoming season?
From a standpoint of behind the scenes stuff, yes. They're going to be, I'm sorry, but their Super Bowl window is, in fact, closed. And I don't necessarily, I'm not saying, like, I don't necessarily blame them for getting rid of Stefondiggs, because we all know the deal. I mean, shoot, you're asking the 2020 most absurd statement winner here. You know, I thought the Vikings weren't going to trade Diggs, and guess what? They traded Diggs. There have been some Buffalo Bills fans on Twitter that have gone off on our guy Nate Burleson, for one, saying that he was, crazy for thinking that they would trade Stefondiggs in the offseason, and he had a video explaining, hey, I guess I was right, and he kind of went off on people, which I approve as always, because Nate, our guy, friend of the show, he knows what he's talking about. So I think there was a lot going on behind the scenes, and I think more will be revealed, because when you are asked, and Josh Allen was he was on some show, and he said that he was asked something along the lines of, "Are you and Diggs cool? Like, are you guys okay? Did you guys talk after that game, that loss against Cincinnati in 2022 in the playoffs?" And yeah, we talked. We're cool, And he didn't really elaborate on it. He just kind of left it at that. So I just kind of hearing what he said, I was kind of like, something ain't right. Something ain't right. So, he talked about how, that he was surprised that they didn't win in past years. The thing is the Bills had their opportunity. It was a golden opportunity that they had right in front of them this past playoffs. And guess what, Voldy? Myself and you took them to win that game, and they didn't win.
Thanks, Buffalo.
Yeah, thanks, Buffalo. All that belief that you could beat the Chiefs, and they pretty much were neck and neck, and obviously things happened, and of course they lost. So, but Stefondiggs and Josh Allen haven't been cool since that deal.
Probably never will.
Cincinnati, or the deal against the Bengals. And the fact that he left the locker room and had to be ushered back in, it had to be, brought back into the locker room to, be with his teammates, just shows you Stefon's turned it all off. He's said, screw this, I'm done here. So I don't necessarily blame them. And, I mean, the compensation that they got, Voldy, they only got a second-round pick from 2025, the Bills. That's it. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, Well, that's weird. Like, why would they only just get that? I would ask for more. I would definitely have asked for more than that. But I think that's how much they wanted to get rid of Stefondiggs. I think there was a lot of controversy in the locker room behind the scenes, and I think they had enough. And they thought, oh, we can rein him in, with, I guess he's moving on from what happened in Minnesota. But guess what? Diggs is gonna do Diggs stuff, and you know what I'm talking about when I say that. So it's unfortunate, but Diggs is going to a place where they're very good. They're a very solid team. You have C.J. Stroud. You have some great. You have Joe Mixon in the backfield now. You have Tank Dell. You have Nico Collins, who played well this past year. Texans are looking really good. D'Amico Ryans and the crew over there looking really good. So for the Texans, things look good, but for the Bills, they don't really have wide receiver. They lost Gabe Davis in free agency. Yep. They have that Shakir guy, and then some other, I think Curtis Samuel or something like that.
Curtis Samuel signed there. Mac Hollins from Atlanta,
yeah.
From Atlanta
so
signed.
Who's Josh Allen throwing to?
Easy.
We don't know.
The tight ends.
The tight ends. Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. There we go.
Yep, that's it. That's all you
There we go.
All you need.
Yeah, that's all you need. That's all you need. So we'll see how things go, but that Super Bowl window is closed for the Buffalo Bills. So, Voldy, what do you think?
I think really it comes down to what is Stefan going to do this go around, knowing the fact that he's been passed over now twice by teams that have given him the keys to the house, basically. I mean, in Minnesota, obviously, he was the number, it was a battle between him and Thielen, who's going to be the number one guy, and he got sent to Buffalo. With Buffalo, he was the number one guy. What was he going to do with it? Sure, he had a promising start, but never could come up in when it mattered most, and especially when it came to obviously being a team player as opposed to being a me player as well. Now, third time's a charm. You've got a young offense in Houston, obviously with C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and you've got an experience, you got experienced guys like Joe Mixon that they traded for. You got also, Dalton Schultz, who's been in the league for a few years recently, obviously with the Texans and with the Dallas Cowboys as well. How's that going to play out? Is he going to find his role there? Because we've seen how veteran receivers can come in with a young quarterback to build that confidence and obviously give him the opportunity to excel. I would like to see that happen just for the sake of Houston as well. They've got a really good young nucleus there. They've bolstered the defense as well. They did sign, obviously, Danielle Hunter as well. They've got a few guys that they've brought in defensively, even with the defensive team that they had last year, did wonders in the playoffs too. But, still a young enough team that their Super Bowl window is pretty wide open right now, given the fact that they are a young squad. For Buffalo, on the other hand, I'm sure that obviously they're in a different direction right now. It's going to be a tough division. Obviously, with the AFC East, it's still their division to lose. But without full competent and, obviously prosperous receivers to mix in with the offense, Josh Allen is probably looking on the backside of his career right now. But let's be honest, Josh Allen is winning at life. He is one of 32 guys that can say, I'm a starting quarterback in the NFL, and I'm also dating Haley Steinfeld. So he's already winning at life. And, I mean, he is a mountain of a man within himself, too. I mean, let's be honest. Josh Allen probably doesn't – he would like to have a Super Bowl, but at the end of the day, probably doesn't need it because he's already winning at life. So I look at it from the standpoint, Buffalo got the win here. They got the cancer out of the locker room.
It's true. I mean, I was in denial when when he was with Minnesota because, I mean, it didn't make sense. He had all this money and things. But there's something that and especially him not showing up to training camp this past year, right? I think it was this past year too. So, a lot of this me mentality can only take you so far. And I'm sorry, Stefondiggs, but it's true. So, next one, Voldy.
Well, we head to the world of college basketball. The Final
Yeah.
Four for the men's side is set. It is UConn, it is Purdue, it is NC State, and Alabama. No, we're not talking, of course, with football. These four teams will be squaring off, of course, this weekend, Saturday, the Final Four games, with the national championship coming up on Monday. Of course, we've reached from 68 teams all the way down to the obviously the Final Four within itself. You look at how all these teams have come this way. But now, what do we look at here with the Final Four? Who do you have as in the national championship? Who is winning the national championship come Monday for the Final Four?
That's a great question. And, I've watched a couple games here and there. Obviously I haven't followed a lot of these teams, but let's just start with, I believe it's UConn and Alabama, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. Yes.
The Huskies have been dominant, and by dominant, they are a very, very good team. Alabama's had a nice run. They, pulled off a couple, nice big wins. They're not a bad team at all. They're very good. Roll Tide. But I'm taking UConn, man. They're so good. I mean, everyone was predicting UConn in their Final Fours and winning it and everything like that. I'll get to that in a second. But, I got UConn beating Alabama in this one. And Zoners, let us know who you got, too, in the chat. We'd be happy to know who you got as well. But let's move on over to Purdue and the NC State Wolfpack. Now, Purdue's played well. They beat Tennessee. Tennessee was a very good team. They've got some really good players there, and they got the job done. Edie had like 40-some points, 41 points or something like that. The dude's a monster. 7'4", just a monster. That's
Canadian bucket.
He's gonna dunk on you. And I think it's 7'4". It's either 7'4" or 7'3", whatever it is. But he is a monster. He's very good. And they've got shooters around them. They're able to get it down low. They're able to shoot from the outside. So Purdue's very good. But NC State, man, they went and took it right to Duke. And everybody thought, well, Duke's going to want revenge for losing in the conference tournament and everything like that. No, those Wolfpack, howl. Even though I'm not going to go that far. It'd be terrible. No one wants to hear that.
Love it.
Howl. Those Wolfpack, man, they've been pulling off upsets. They've been pulling off some very interesting upsets. But, Voldy, I will say this. I'm taking the Wolfpack, man. I'm taking the upset.
Nice.
The Wolfpack are going to beat Purdue. They're going to shock the world. They're going to beat the Boilermakers. It's going to be UConn and NC State. And you know what's going to happen in the national championship? The Wolfpack are going to get crushed. I'm sorry. Yeah. They're just, I hate to do that because I've been a big fan of DJ Burns and how he's played these past games. I mean, especially against Duke. The dude is a monster. He's a brick house. He can shoot it from mid-range. He can get down low and put it in. I mean, he is built, man, and I love watching him play. Him and Edie is going to be fun to see, but I'm sorry, I'm taking the Huskies. I mean, they are really good. But if they lose and if NC State wins, I will eat my words. But I really hope I hope NC State wins. That'd be awesome. So I'm taking UConn, Voldy. Who do you got?
Yeah, the first semifinal, obviously between UConn and Alabama, that one's a little bit easier to decide compared to the second one. I like UConn in that one. I think overall with the play that they've had from their team, obviously going into the tournament too, that has certainly helped in a lot of matters, especially when you get to this point now after a long college season. You got to find guys that are going to step up in more ways than one. I just like the overall makeup of their team better, so I got UConn in that one. The second one between NC State and Purdue, I'm looking forward to that one. I might actually watch that. I've not watched a single game of the entire tournament. Been kind of busy as of late, so watching college basketball has kind of been on the back burner. Edie, Burns, I mean, it is certainly very I mean, I should say with Edie on the one side, it is certainly very, very fun to watch him too. Just this big, goofy, some sort of white guy from Canada playing for Purdue, Big Ten school, dominating up and down the floor. It's great to watch. It's great to watch. I definitely look forward to that. And of course, with NC State, their remarkable run, just just kind of come out of nowhere a little bit. Obviously, winning the conference tournament is definitely something that is obviously fun to watch too. I am looking forward to that. That one's going to be a tough matchup. It's really going to come down to which team's going to shut down the big threat on their side. Yeah. And I feel like the way that Purdue has been able to lean on Edie, he has not backed down from the challenge whatsoever. I just don't see the Wolfpack shutting down Edie. I think he's still going to get his 25, maybe 30 points.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be obviously which team's going to end up with the ball last and is going to make that big shot. I wouldn't be surprised if this one goes down to the very bitter end if it's a one possession win. But I got Purdue in that one. You got UConn and Purdue.
That's fine.
I think that's going to be a great national championship. Who is it going to be between UConn and Purdue? Whole team in UConn with Dan Hurley as head coach. Edie and the boys from Purdue, the Boilermakers. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I don't want to say it. But boiler up, baby. Boiler the F up. Give me Purdue to win the Natty this year, baby. The Big Maple in Zach Edey going to run all over UConn for the dub, for the championship. Boiler up Purdue.
It has to be in the Big Ten, too. Gosh darn it.
Keep it in the house, baby.
I respect that because Edie's really good, and he's on a tear, too. Like, he was calling out coaches that passed on him and stuff like that. And he's pretty pissed. And he seems like a guy you don't want to piss off. So it doesn't surprise me in the least. But, I think that's very possible, but I don't know. I like the Wolfpack story. If they lose, so be it. So, that's what we got for that. We will be taking a look at that game on Saturday at 5. Oh, it's at 5 o'clock, huh? Okay. Early. It's 6 p.m. Eastern time, obviously, here, 5 p.m. So, with that being said, next one, Volde.
Well, we head to the world of Major League Baseball. Of course, it has been no shortage of controversy or excitement to start off a young season for Major League Baseball. And one of the brightest stars has gotten maybe just a little bit dimmer with some of the chicanery that's been going on behind the scenes. Shoheiohtani and his former interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara, in the midst of quite possibly a little bit of some trouble off the field, but mostly towards the side of Mizuhara, who actually took money from Shoheiohtani and actually ended up having to pay some of his gambling debts and pay off a bookie in that regards as well. And of course, in a statement read off by Ohtani, which was a lengthy discussion as well. Of course, that being not just some chump change that was taken from him. We're talking millions of dollars from Shohei's own bank account to pay off a bookie paid off by one of obviously the interpreter that no longer works for Ohtani or the Dodgers as well. A little bit of this dark seediness to the brightness that is, of course, with Shoheiohtani, the two-way star as well. Won't be pitching this season, but definitely now making his way into a new team as well with the Los Angeles Dodgers and looking to solidify his spot with that group as well, being in a new team, but of sure a face of Major League Baseball as well. You look at how everything has really come about here within the last couple of weeks, more and more information coming out about Shoheiohtani kind of being a bit of a recluse a little bit. Nobody even really knew he was married up until the season opener, with actually announcing on social media that he is married, and he's married to I think she's an athlete or something. She was an athlete of some sort as well. But
Okay.
Shohei is actually a married man, and he didn't announce it until the season opener this year in Korea as well. But you look at what's gone on with Shohei Ohtani losing $4.5 million out of his own bank account. Is it absurd or approved? Is your opinion of Shohei Ohtani swayed by the recent actions that have taken place from his former interpreter?
Yeah, it has. And the reason why I say that is because there is a wire transfer to at least $4.5 million. Holy guacamole, that is a lot of money. Looking at us, but obviously Otani's got that huge ass contract. I mean, he's got enough to, so man, I think it's kind of changed. And the thing is that, what did he do? Did he know about it? Did he not know about it? I don't think we're ever going to know fully the truth. If he did, shame on him. I mean, you should have gotten rid of him right when he was doing that. But the fact that it has gone on for that, for what it's been gone on to, and, betting on, whatever he was betting on. Was he betting on games specifically or just other things as well? But I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but to me, I feel like he must have knew something about this, and if he did know about it, why didn't he take action? And if he was involved, why were you involved? And then apparently he covered a lot of his debts that that he needed to pay and whatnot. And ever since he came to California as well, I mean, the Angels and now the Dodgers, but man, it's just plain stupidity. You have a friend like that, and then all of a sudden he's doing all this stuff either behind your back or about it, and you're letting him do it, and you have enough money to cover his debts and stuff like that, and it's wrong. Then why are you doing it? So yeah, it's changed. My thoughts on Ohtani. He's a very good player. But I don't know if anybody can really trust him. Obviously, he read off, a note card or something like that about saying he was sorry and, this and that and whatnot, which, I understand. He didn't take any questions. No one, it's just like, okay, well, what do we know here? Like, tell us, like, he could be completely innocent. He might be completely innocent. He didn't know and things are going on here. But I don't know. It seems kind of fishy to me. I mean, how do you not know? I mean, the guy's literally around you all the time. So,
yep.
Yeah, I think it's absurd. I think I think my thoughts have changed on him, but he's a heck of a player, though. What do you got, Voldy?
Mm-hmm. I think it's a situation. Shohei is either going to be the dumbest guy around or is probably something else is going on here as well. You can't tell me $680 million being deferred was not for a given reason as well. So $20 million of your $700 million contract is still in play. You're telling me that, I mean, a guy like him you would think would be, he's obviously don't have to worry about money, but knowing where his money is going, you would think would definitely be something worth noting as well. It's not just every day you can look in there. It's like, there's $4.5 million missing out of my account. Oh, well, whatsoever. I feel like something else is going on here, and especially a guy that's been kind of a recluse. He's kind of kept to himself a little bit. Yeah. You think a guy that's been in the league long enough to at least develop a little bit of a personality, or at least maybe open up a little bit more, that there would be something to it as well. But no, he's still kind of, we have yet to really pull the curtain from behind, out from behind him and learn more about Shohei Ohtani. Like I had mentioned as well, we just learned earlier this month, the last couple of weeks, that he's actually married. I'm sure people actually knew about that, but the fact that the given world didn't know that to begin with, very interesting. Did not know that, or the fact that he had to go on social media and post that too. I think it's definitely something. Obviously, the IRS is involved too. They're keeping close eyes on some more of the actions as well. But if it comes back that Ohtani didn't do anything, or at least, obviously these bets being made, I'm sure he wasn't betting on baseball, or at least certainly hope not. That won't hopefully sway my opinion, but right now it's calling into question a few things.
Yeah.
I think there's something more to it. There's something that we got to dive into a little bit more when it comes to how this, because if it starts affecting play on the field, boy, that Ohtani stock is going to go way, way down real quick, and especially for Dodger fans. Dodger fans are brutal. They're like Philadelphia Eagle fans. They are brutal when they get upset.
And they can shell out the money. Closer,
Yep.
It must be nice having owners that do that. So we'll see how that one plays out. All right, next one, Volde.
Well, with a bevy of NFL rule changes coming up for the 2024 season, one of them has decided to make the old kickoff return a more viable option, as NFL owners approved a massive revamp of kickoff play during the league meetings as well. The new alignment rules represent the most significant on-field rule change for the NFL in recent years, designed to reverse more than a decade of declining return rates and also lowering concussion rates. In essence, the format will move a majority of kick returns teams downfield to minimize high-speed collisions, and it will go into effect for a one-year only anticipation for possible tweaks over time. So the way it's going to work is, for the 2024 season, kickers will continue to kick from the 35-yard line, but the other 10 players on that kick team will be the kickoff team will be lined up on the receiving team's 40-yard line. At least 9 members of the return team will be lined up in the, quote, setup zone between the 35 and 30-yard lines, and up to 2 returners can line up in the landing zone between the goal line and the 20-yard line. Now, if you're asking and wondering, it's like, wait, I think I've seen this before. It is the same setup and rules that the XFL had in its revamp back in 2020, and obviously in recent seasons as well, before the XFL and USFL merged together and joined to become the UFL. Shout out to them for their season opener as well over the weekend. Some exciting contests that they had as well.
Yep.
But the XFL did bring this rule to light to allow more of a return as well in, obviously, kickoffs. We've seen the return game become less and less over recent years. So some guys that have been on the bubble for even making the team have slowly fallen off the roster as well. We've seen how some kick returners have been forced to reevaluate their style of play as well, and how that can now be brought back to life once again, with kickoffs now becoming more and more of a regular thing. Now you look at how we've seen the kickoff XFL style come into play in years as well, and how that has led to a change. Is it absurd to approve? Do you approve, or is it absurd, the move by the NFL to change the kickoffs to the XFL style of kickoff?
I guess we'll see. I'm not, I think it works great for the UFL and everything like that. And also, before I get too much into that, our Battlehawks lost on a heartbreaker, Voldy.
Yeah,
60-some field goal, 60-yarder.
64-yarder.
64, thank you. And that was at, that was at Ford Field. Yeah, at Ford Field. There's a lot of season left. The Battlehawks will be okay. Kaka, we love the Battlehawks. AJ McCarron is back with the team. Marcus Aitman had a great game. I believe NDSU grad, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Shepard.
So we'll keep an eye on the Battlehawks and whatnot, but they'll be okay. But yeah, I'm leaning more towards approved here because, it worked out well, like you said, with the high collisions and everything like that. Like, I get that, but I believe there was a stat or something like that this past year, like touchbacks were like up at a significant amount. There was rarely any returns in the NFL this past year. So I understand it. And, if it works well for the XFL, why can't it work well for the NFL? And, you have 2 returners now, which is interesting. I kind of like that. Obviously you're going to have Cordero Patterson back there, especially for the Steelers now, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So CP will be back there. Then Kenny gets more opportunity. So the
Mhm.
question is, Voldy, who's going to be the two returners? That's my question. You have Kenny Wongwu. Who else are you going to have back there? So you might have to,
That-
open up an extra roster spot. I mean, I'd probably say right now it'd probably be Brandon Powell if I were to guess. But that's going to be interesting. So now you have two returners, and then guys are going to be blocking, and there's more of a chance of a return, I feel like, and whatnot in this new style of kickoff. So I think it's going to work, but I've been proven wrong before. I think it works in the the UFL now, but in the NFL, I guess we'll see. I think it can. I really do think it can. So. They'll probably do some tweaks like you were talking about too. I mean, it makes sense at that point. So, I'll say stamp of approval. What do you got, Voldy?
I am a fan of it. I definitely see the return game not being as favored, of course, over recent years. Everybody's just talking about just put the ball in the 25. Let's just go from there. Get the kickers
Right.
out of the game. Nobody cares about all that. I really enjoy. There's nothing cooler than seeing a kickoff or a punt return for a touchdown as well,
Right.
because it comes out of nowhere. Nobody's expecting it, and that is just something that can steal a possession, that can steal points away as well. I feel like it is definitely going to be something, because I know the NFL is always about, we got to lower concussions, we got to lower injuries, we got to make sure all the best players stay on the field for much longer. And obviously getting as much excitement as you can with a change in kick returns as well is going to obviously make more of an impact when it comes to maybe the next potential stars as well. We've seen, of course, the kick return king himself, that being Cordell Patterson, do it for years, even with the the former rules of how kickoffs took place as well. It certainly is now something. You just give them some space, give them some room to work with, so that way they can get a running start and they can certainly go after it as well, because you get even a few yards for Cordero Patterson, he's going to hurt you one way or another. You get these guys that are used to, obviously getting a chance to work in space and at least get a good running start when it comes to it. That is going to be leaps and bounds from where we were years ago, or even in most recent years, to what it could be for the future. It's got my stamp of approval. We need more kick returns and punt returns for touchdowns.
I mean, Devin Hester made pretty much his NFL career off that.
His soon to be Hall of Fame career. Remember that?
Yes. Much deserved. Even though he was a Bear, he was a Falcon at one point too. But
he was a Seattle Seahawk too.
He was. That's right. That is a good point too. So, but I think this will work. I really do. So I'm confident. All right, last one, Voldy.
Well, the NFL will be bringing back one of its key standouts, but he's going to be heading back to school. That's right. Colorado University, the Buffalo program led by Coach Prime himself, Deion Sanders, announced that Hall of Fame defensive lineman Warren Sapp is going to be joining the staff as a graduate assistant. That's right. Warren Sapp's going back to school. He will also be a senior quality control analyst, which will limit his time on the field actually working with players, but nonetheless, a Hall of Fame defensive lineman, Super Bowl champion defensive lineman as well, will be a part of the coaching staff for the Colorado Buffaloes that has need a little bit of help on the defensive side. We saw last year with the first year for Coach Prime after getting off to a promising start, finishing the year at 4-8, knowing that Power 5 college football, a little bit different, but playing HBCU football down at Jackson State. But nonetheless, a promising start with a number of kids getting the limelight and also big-time reps as well. We saw how the season kind of played out for them after a couple of exciting wins, but really coming down to it, a lack of defensive capability and a lot of shootouts of contests as well against, you look at like the game against USC, Arizona State. I mean, there were a lot of times that the Colorado had their chances to win, but defense really couldn't come through as well. But now adding a Hall of Fame defensive lineman to, of course, the coaching staff one way or another, even as a graduate assistant. Is it absurd or proof? Could we see improvement from Colorado's even defensive line this coming season as they prepare for spring football?
That's a great question. When I first saw this, when you put this on our doc, I immediately thought, well, I hope he's behaving himself, because there's been a lot of things that have happened since was it 2015 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's going back to school, and that's great. I mean, good for him. Obviously, there's a history though. He took a plea deal that spared him jail time in Las Vegas in a criminal case involving a scuffle with his former girlfriend at a casino hotel swimming pool. This was months after when he was fired as an analyst at the NFL Network following his arrest in Phoenix for assaulting and soliciting a prostitute during the Super Bowl weekend. He pleaded guilty to both charges. The solicitation charge was dropped after he completed a diversion program. And according to Colorado, he has successfully completed all the necessary steps and required of anyone who was employed at Colorado University Boulder, including a background check. So, if he's good to go, then obviously you got to take the university at its word there. So I think this is a good thing for not only Warren Sapp, but obviously, like you said, they need help on the defensive side. So who none better than one of the top defensive tackles of all time. So I really hope that he's gotten his life together, and it seems like he has, and Coach Prime's trusting him to put in the work and do what he needs to do. And obviously I don't think he's going to be a distraction, and he knows what's going to happen if he is a distraction. So it's to a point where I think it'll help them. Obviously he knows football, he knows defenses. He's a defensive tackle himself. I think it's just going to help them. It's interesting of Voldy. A couple names that I think you're gonna find very interesting.
Vikings legends.
Yes. So he added Robert Livingston, he as defensive coordinator, and brought in Phil Loadholt. Big Phil to shore up a shaky offensive line, baby, to protect Shadur Sanders, obviously. And guess who is the offensive coordinator?
Yeah, Pat Shurmur.
Pat Shurmur. Good old Pat Shurmur.
Yeah, they brought him in halfway through last year, so.
Yeah. Hey, good things have only happened with Pat Shurmur, folks. That's, he knows what he's doing. So, Pat Shurmur has got our stamp of approval around here. So, yeah, it's got my stamp of approval. I mean, giving Sapp a second chance is a smart move. None better than Dion. So, Voldy, what do you got?
On a room full of colorful characters that they have in Colorado, what's one more to the circus that they have over there as well? Not saying that's going to be a bad move. I mean, I like Warren Sapp. I mean, I think it's a very interesting, he adds a different perspective, obviously. And the ultimate goal beyond, obviously, winning games in college is getting these players ready for the NFL. What better way to do that than have guys that have played at the highest of levels and have won at the highest levels with the likes of Warren Sapp, Deion Sanders, obviously Pat Shurmur has been in the game a long time as well. A lot of guys with NFL experience, whether playing and or coaching, are part of the staff. Of course, I'm pretty sure Tim Brewster is still there, coaching tight ends as well.
Yeah.
I'm assuming so. I have to take a look at the coaching staff and how that all breaks out. But after watching Coach Prime on Amazon Prime this last year, seeing him back on my TV screen definitely took me through a whirlwind of emotions as well. But getting them ready for the next level is the big thing, and having obviously the tangibles to do that at the college level, and especially now going into Big 12 play as opposed to the Pac-12, that is certainly going to be something to make note of looking forward with him now on the coaching staff. But it's going to be interesting how that works out with a graduate assistant, obviously a quality control side that would be how much interaction he is allowed during the week at practices, things of that sort. But man, is it going to be just weird as well, just going to class and there's Warrensapp sitting in at a in a college classroom. Certainly would be very weird, but it's definitely got my stamp of approval.
I'd be asking him questions. I don't know about you. But I think he'll be all right. Especially he's under the watchful eye of Deion Sanders. So just don't ruin the second chance or third chance or whatever it is. I don't know.
Exactly.
That being said, great job as always with ARA Voldy on your comeback tour. Back to ARA stuff and Shield shoutouts. We have, like I said at the beginning, a plethora of Shield shoutouts. So I say we get it going right now with some Shield shoutouts.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, Shield. It's been a while since I said this, but who you shouting out tonight?
Well, I got a lot of them here after being gone for a couple of weeks. But, of course, the big one that we have to talk about with Shield shoutouts on March 18th this past month, we did welcome in Tate, Paul, Jacob Vold to the Vold family and, of course, to the MinneZona family as well. Of course, a big thank you to everybody that has reached out, has sent us gifts, and even just thank yous as well. Or at least we thank them for thanking us for thanking you at the same time. But also a big shout out as well to creative consultant Mrs. Sarah Ann Tuesvold for an amazing job at giving birth and obviously taking care of. She's now still on maternity leave. So big Shield shout out to Tate as well as Sarah for a job well done. But, of course, a Shield shout-out goes out and congratulations to our own Granitecitylumberjacks winning the NA3HL West Division regular season and playoff titles as well and reaching all the way to the Fraser Cup semifinals. A little bit short this year, but still a very good season for the Lumberjacks. Happy retirement goes out to former Timberwolves guard and MVP in the league. Still a bust in my mind, but derrickrose announced his retirement following the end of this coming season as well. So best of luck of him as the season comes to a winding to his career. Also a happy retirement as officially announced here this week to Celtics legend and former NBA champion as well. Rajonrondo announced his retirement finally from the league after bouncing around with a number of teams over the last number of years. An announcement taking place here that will be going on later on this summer. Congratulations to former Minnesota Lynx legend Maya Moore, as she will be, as the franchise did announce that they will be retiring her number 23, taking place on August 24th. Do at the send congratulations to Warroad, Minnesota native, former University of North Dakota Fighting Sioux stud and Stanley Cup winner TJ Oshie as he reached the 1,000 career game mark this past week as well. Congratulations to New York Rangers goaltender and now three-time Stanley Cup champion Jonathan Quick as he became the winningest United States-born goaltender in NHL history as he notched his 392nd career victory this past Sunday. And last but not least as well, we do have to send a shout-out to my brother-in-law Jake Tews for the new TV that we have in our living room. It's been sitting in the basement at his place for a year or so. We'll put a number on that. Hey, better in our hands than in his. It was free. All I had to do was move it. And that is going to do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
Yeah. Oof, that was a lot. But a lot of awesome Shield shoutouts. Obviously, the main one, as we all say, welcome Tate, Paul, Jacob Vold. Welcome to the Zona family, and congratulations to you and Sarah and big brother Case, baby. Let's go. So now we got two Volds that have been, throughout that we've done the show, you've had the two children with Case and now Tate.
Yep.
It's great.
Crazy.
And yeah, I didn't plan that one with the great, but I thought that worked well. And then the Lumberjacks. We love the Lumberjacks here. And, obviously It was a great season. They hosted us in November there, and it was fantastic. And they'll be back.
Fun.
They'll be back, baby. We know it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but that with all the others, congratulations, and we'll go from there. So that's gonna do it for episode 187. But before we go, you guys know the deal. We've got the merch, people. We got the sweatpants. We got the quarter zips. We got the shirts. We got the stickers, the hats. You know the deal. Hit us up. We can get that over to you as well, since we are winding down winter, and you never know when we're going to have another giveaway. Just saying. So keep your eyes out for that. Check out W2 Performance with our guy, Will Rattel, at www.w2performance.com. Thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Tyler Knutson, Crown Rental for the stickers as well. We do have stickers. I forgot to mention that. $2,
Yep.
$3. You guys know the deal there. And also check out the victorious P.O.D. Tyler Herman, Jack Vickers, our guys. Fantasy football for life. TLS Performance, Troy Stoudemire Jr. Make sure you check out his stuff as well. And then the Popcorn Bucket List coming out with new episodes. And awesome content as well. They've got some funny shorts with Nick Dahlhoff and Ryan Meyerberg, Omni Entertainment. They do a fantastic job as well. So make sure you check those guys out. And with that being said, good to have you back, Voldy.
Thanks, sir.
Again, we'll be keeping up to date with all the content, the Glenn Taylor BS. The Vikings, obviously, we got to get back to that soon, because Voldy, it's coming up and whatnot.
Yes,
and then
is.
one last thing, the Wolves are up 91-60 at the end of the third quarter. They are kicking the Raptors' ass.
Wow.
Well, people are like, oh, are they ready? They're ready. Well, they're
ready.
They're looking pretty damn good right now. I like it. So, with that being said, as always, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.